Please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer and meditation. Please be seated. Honorable members, let us proceed. Can the secretary read the order?
Debate on vote number 3, Communications Appropriation Bill.
The Honorable Minister, take the platform.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Communications, Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee on Telecommunication and Postal Services, our Deputy Minister of Communications, Honorable Pinky Kekana, and Deputy Minister Stellanda Beni Abrams, Acting Director General of the Department of Communications and the Acting Director of the Government Communications and Information Services, chairpersons, board members, and CEOs of state-owned entities, senior government officials, representatives of the sector, members of the media, honorable members of parliament, ladies and gentlemen, fellow South Africans, a very good afternoon. It is indeed an honor for us to stand before you this afternoon and deliver our speech as the Minister of Communications together with our Deputy Minister. This budget vote represents the final leg in the 5-year mandate of the 5th administration of our democracy, as given to the African National Congress by 62% of the South African electorate in 2014. We also marked 24 years of democracy last month and are moving towards the end of the medium-term strategic framework in 2019. We are on a path towards realizing the genesis of a new epoch as we undertake the next 12 years by which we must achieve our national developmental objectives as set out in the National Development Plan, Vision 2030. Honorable Chairperson, allow us to pay tribute to all those stalwarts of the South African struggle against apartheid who we lost in the last few months, in particular, Umama uZanyiwe Nomzamo Madikizela Mandela and Comrade Dr. Zola Skweyiya. Undoubtedly, their contribution to the struggle for freedom in our country was immeasurable. Theirs was a harder struggle of selflessness, dedication, and sheer commitment to ensure that you and I enjoy the liberties we have today. This year, South Africa will also be celebrating the lives of 2 other heroes, namely the father of our liberation and the global epitome of human sacrifice, Comrade Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, and Mama Albertina Nontsikelelo Sisulu. Government has 2 days ago released the details on how we will celebrate these 2 icons with our citizens and the world, because they were indeed the citizens of the world. Honorable members, the sector that has been at the forefront of our development and transformation during the transitional period has significantly stagnated for reasons well known by many in the sector. It is therefore our responsibility, together with industry, to ensure that we urgently revive it and reposition it back to its glory. This is a task we embrace with great humility because we cannot do it alone. We require the support of this august house, the industry, the media, and most importantly, members of the public, for this sector exists to serve the public interest. We need to digitize our country's communications, broadcast, information dissemination, and state-owned entities in order to connect a critical link of empowerment and information between South Africa and progressive parts of the world that are leading major industries of the 4th Industrial Revolution. When we consider the future of the global economy and try to position our country, South Africa, as a strong competitor, we have to use a picture that has not been formulated yet. The World Economic Forum estimates that 65% of children entering primary school today will ultimately end up working in completely new job types that don't yet exist. And indeed, as South Africa, a country, we are at our own moment of opportunity. Honorable members and colleagues, ours is only a transitional task given that in no less than a year, the mandate of our current administration shall expire and the electorate shall go to the polls to elect a new administration. Our priorities and the commitments we make in this budget vote are modest, realistic, and seek to build a strong foundation on which the next administration can deliver and take the industry forward to meet the urgent demands of the fourth industrial revolution and the completion of the mandate as bestowed upon this administration for the last 5 years. The communications sector is, however, critical for the realization of much of our national interests and priorities. To achieve Vision 2030, it is through adequate and efficient communications infrastructure that will be able to succeed in delivering to the needs of our people. His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa has also emphasized our renewed focus on eradicating poverty and reducing unemployment as well as inequality. Our sector thus has a role to ensure that there is ease of doing business in South Africa and that there is inclusive growth within the sector for the benefit of new industries and economic rejuvenation. Our total budget for this financial year 2018-2019 is 1.5 billion. This represents a 36 million cut from the previous financial year. 61% of the budget comprises of transfers to the different entities, with GCIS receiving the biggest allocation to drive communication work, government accountability, awareness and promotion of government services and programs. Our priorities in the next following months will be on the 4 focus areas, namely creating a new vision for the broadcast sector, accelerating the migration from analog to digital, stabilizing our entities and the SABC, and improving organizational capacity. In delivering on these priorities, we do believe and we do know that we cannot do it alone. We require partnerships and collaboration with all stakeholders, including our communities in both urban and rural areas, young and old, women and men, the industry, non-governmental organizations, the academia, as well as institutions of higher learning. In particular, our continued relationship with the Department of Telecommunications and Postal Services is work in progress to ensure that we jointly drive the information and communication technology sector in a much more converged manner and avoid duplication in overlapping areas such as the regulatory oversight on the spectrum, on SMMEs development, as well as on international communications. And lastly, on the envisaged Digital Revolution Commission, as announced by the President of the Republic earlier in February 2018 during his inaugural SONA. During the SONA of 2018, the President said, and I quote, "There are 57 million of us with different histories, languages, cultures, experiences, and interests," close quote. Broadcasting plays a critical and meaningful role in providing a window and a platform through which these histories, languages, culture, experiences, views, and interests can be expressed and shared. This underscores the importance of broadcasting as the sector that is at the heart of who we are, the sense of our identities. It is thus important to revive it for this purpose, reposition it, and unlock its immense potential to attract investments. It must also create jobs for our young people and bolster SMMEs in our country. Our work on the development of the new broadcasting policy will be accelerated. This policy will be comprehensive, covering various aspects of the disrupted value chains and the impact of the new technologies on this sector, including the tier broadcasting system, the role of the public broadcaster, the funding of community broadcasting services, and institutional arrangements, as well as the repositioning of SOEs. Fellow South Africans, honorable members, the whole world is moving to the modern digital era in all aspects. International advances in technology have brought new, innovative, and efficient means of improving communication systems for the benefit of consumers. In a similar way, in which we saw the introduction of digital cellular phones, replacing the old home-based dial-up analog telephones, television is similarly progressing into the more efficient and user-friendly digital system. That is what digital migration is all about. We all understand and appreciate the ease in which digital cell phones have improved communication for all, something that was not there 20 years ago. Similarly, the migration from analog to digital television will, in the immediate to long term, bring similar benefits to all. Currently, our digital migration project has experienced serious and immense challenges. Hence, more than 10 years since Cabinet approved the policy, we are yet to migrate our broadcasting system to digital. This has become costly for the government and the industry, and hence only through partnership with the public and the private sector, we can turn things around. Zizochiga izinto. Engagements with all the relevant stakeholders are ongoing, and we do want to commit ourselves to share our plans in due course. Such plans will include the process of setting up an advisory team to bring in the technical know-how and insight in this area for expertise. We'll also look into the potential public-private partnerships that could support our expedited migration to digital through cost-effective and efficient means, and accompanied by a clear definition of roles and responsibilities for all. It must be an inclusive approach, it must be an empowering approach, and it must also help us to invest on new skills for the future. Such plans, as we have said, include a process of resource mobilization and the identification of alternative means that will support our intentions to expedite the migration to digital. And in this instance, honorable members, let me take this opportunity to appreciate the advice and counsel that one has received from one of our colleagues, Minister Ayanda Dlodlo, on how best to turn the situation around. Thank you, Siyabon. As acknowledged by the President, during the SONA, there are a lot of challenges in the SOE's environment. Our portfolio is no different, particularly acknowledging the events at the SABC and the MDDA. Whilst the SABC is on a gradual recovery following the appointment of the new board, a lot of work still needs to be done. We will work with the boards of these two entities to expedite the appointment of key personnel so as to provide for leadership certainty, improve accountability, and internal controls. Part of our focus is to also promote investment in the development and production of content in order to provide space for young, smart minds, and stars to thrive within the sector. Ours is to ensure that we drive transformation within the sector to foster the emergence of microcosm of our society in age, race, and gender in the sector.
Sir.
In respect of the SABC in particular, we are determined to restore the SABC.
Honorable Minister, there's a member who wants to pause. Honorable Member.
Thanks, Chair, I want to ask if the minister can take a question.
Honorable members, let us allow the minister to answer for herself. Honorable Minister, are you prepared to take a question?
Once I'm done with what I'm here for.
Okay, thank you.
In
Proceed,
respect
Honorable
of the SABC in particular, we are determined to restore the SABC to financial stability, working together with the board as well as the Department of Finance, editorial credibility, and to being a public broadcaster of integrity that supports our objectives of social cohesion and nation building. We also seek to really engage in intense conversation with South Africans on building the SABC to reflect the above objectives. Whilst we understand that part of this will be dealt with in the broader policy review process, the amount of issues require a focused discussion on the SABC as a public broadcaster in respect of its public mandate, scope and size, governance and accountability, and how it can actually seek to get additional resources outside of being dependent on the fiscus. Lessons from other countries have shown that this is an organization that is at the heart of who we are as a nation, and its issues should not be clouded with others. This is important in view of the inevitable changing broadcasting landscape of ubiquitous channels and over-the-top platforms used by the youth and the negative sentiments around TV license fees. However, honorable members, we must continue to encourage our people to pay their TV licenses in order to guarantee the sustainability of the services provided by the public broadcaster. Television remains the medium choice for most South Africans. The public broadcaster's 3 terrestrial television channels attract an average of 27,100,000 South Africans in a typical month. 17 of the top 20 terrestrial television programs in South Africa are carried on the SABC channels. And it becomes therefore important that this must be a resource and an asset that must be nurtured and protected. A significant number of South Africans still depend on radio as a source of information. The SABC provides services to South Africans in their preferred languages by way of its 18 radio stations. It is at the center of our broadcasting industry, and its challenges do not augur well for our nation-building project. Internally, as a department, we commit to beef up our monitoring and oversight unit to ensure that there is adequate capacity of men and women who know what their business is on a day-to-day basis. Functionality of the different forums, such as the Chief Executive Officers and Director General Forum, Policy, Strategic Planning, and the Chief Financial Officers Forum will be resuscitated to ensure strategic alignment. The signing of the governance instrument will be carried out early enough to ensure that not only clarity on the roles and responsibilities of the Accounting Authority and the Executive Authority, but also to create an instrument that must regulate the relationship. In March 2017, government published a discussion document on regulatory framework for community broadcasting services. In the coming financial year, ICASA will develop regulations on community broadcasting services that will strengthen the community broadcasting regulatory framework. ICASA will, in this very year, also announce its decision on the licensing process of commercial free-to-air television broadcasting services and multiplex 3 spectrum licenses. The introduction of more players in the industry is aimed at increasing competition as well as contributing towards transformation of this sector. A discussion document on digital sound broadcasting was also published in March 2018 into expanding the regulatory scope for digital sound broadcasting technologies for the purposes of accommodating additional sound broadcasters in conventional and frequency bands. As we prepare the sector and the environment for new platforms and increased spectrum, we are also cognizant of the need to protect our children from exposure to harmful content and to provide content advice to consumers. The Film and Publications Bill that is currently before the National Council of Provinces will go a long way in ensuring that our regulatory framework for online content is sufficient but also effective. Our sector is critical to the entire election process in terms of providing information for the voter, raising awareness, and more importantly, providing platforms of democratic engagement by the parties contesting elections. GCIS will assist government and the IEC in driving campaigns around voter education and voter registration, working together with Home Affairs in ensuring that citizens have correct documents and correct information, particularly our first-time voter. As always, ICASA will review and ensure compliance with broadcasting regulations necessary, including election broadcast and advertisements and equitable treatment of political parties by the broadcast during the election period, taking on board the issues of proportionality. Community broadcasting will equally play a crucial role, and it is important that we all ensure that we are ready to inform and educate our communities. Given the high turnover of personnel in this sector, we are in partnership with MDDA ICASA, and other partners will conduct training for the sector on the rules of engagement. This is to familiarize them with the legislative and the regulatory environment. We are also pleased that agreement was reached to reconnect 15 community radio stations that were suspended by Centec for non-payment of signal distribution fees. The agreement was reached after government met with Centec, the National Community Radio Forum, MDDA, and the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa. We have jointly identified gaps in the regulation and support to community media by government and the relevant entities, and will together work in ensuring that the sector identify and implement long-term solutions to these areas of joint concern. We will also collaborate with the 3 spheres of government, particularly local government, in ensuring that there is investment that is redirected towards community broadcasting. Honorable members, this now brings us to the issues related to GCIS, where we have identified key pillars to the communication process of government, namely community engagements and government outreach programs, media engagement through post-cabinet and other briefings, including the use of social media interface, stakeholder engagement, and support to other partnerships and initiatives that are done by civil society. We're pleased to say that government communication policy has also been finalized, and it seeks to establish norms and standards to professionalize and strengthen the government communication system. We also are happy to announce that Brand SA will continue providing critical support to government in promoting our country as an investment destination. It will be done together with the team that has been appointed by His Excellency the President to further bolster the commendable work that has already been initiated in this regard, and that of the Special Envoys in presenting South Africa as a lucrative investment destination. We are, as such, looking forward to the upcoming BRICS Summit, and through the SABC and Brand SA, as well as GCIS, will be undertaking a comprehensive communications approach to positively market our country both locally and internationally, and to be the primary source of coverage and news for the summit of our people and the international audience. In conclusion, honorable members, our response to some of the challenges referred to above builds on policies we have consistently pursued as government over the past decades, building a communication sector that is vibrant and sustainable to drive economic development, create jobs, and empower our people, turning the SABC to become a jewel of our country that would also be in a position to adapt to the realities of the public broadcasting throughout the world. We are geared to reassert the Department of Communication as the responsible arm of government for policy development and implementation, for regulation and oversight within the sector. Whilst we appreciate and promote the independence of the sector and associated freedoms, we are also cognizant of the need to ensure accountability and transparency by all, as well as promoting partnerships. In Sesotho bari sidikwa ke ntjapedi ha se thata, ngesizulu bathi izandla ziyagezana, and therefore it is precisely through that we do believe that turning the communication sector requires the participation and a positive relationship between the industry, the institutions, and government, but most importantly, a positive mind coming from government with an intention to make sure that we are all inclusive, we learn from the best, we claim the glory after everybody has made government to look good. We are guided by the National Development Plan that articulates that by 2030, South Africa's rural communities should have greater opportunities to participate fully in the economy, as well as in the political life of our country. Furthermore, the NDP stipulates that South Africa needs to build a much more equitable society where opportunity is not defined by race, gender, class,
Honorable
or religion.
Minister, please conclude.
And in conclusion, I want to take this opportunity and thank members of the Portfolio Committee, the Deputy Minister, and the entire sector for embracing some of us who have come here to take South Africa forward through communication. Thank you, Nyabong.
Thank you very much. Honorable Khawula.
Thank you, Chair.
Qedile. Uminister useqedile. Futhi
Undertaking.
no,
She was
yima
still
kancane.
concluding.
Ingxaki yakho, yima ngusisi. Ingxaki yakho wena uvela usukume nje ungazange ukhonjwe. Bophamisa isandla qala. And uminister useqedile akathathanga iquestion yakho. Asiqhubeke ke siye phambili mhlonishwa. Uzokhuluma nawe mawuthola ithuba.
House Chair, I rise on point of order. There is what is called in Afrikaans, abalofte maka skuld. She made a promise. She made a promise. She must fulfill it.
No.
Allow our member to put his question across.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Good afternoon, members of Parliament and comrades and our visitors in the gallery. Chairperson, the BRRR, which is the budget review, debate on 2017 was delivered almost, or rather amidst a negative outlook of South Africa's economic growth. However, that did not deter us from achieving the country's goals of eliminating poverty and reducing inequality, and that we must continue to strive to ensure that service delivery is not compromised. More importantly, we must uphold processes put in place by the governing party to create a vibrant communications sector and continue to uphold and promote and engage an informed citizenry in order to ensure participation in the democratic processes. There is a direct correlation between ANC policy as a governing party and the mandate of the department and its entities, because the key policy positions of the ANC's 54th conference resolutions as well as the manifesto speaks directly to the key deliverables of the department and its entities, including upholding and expanding public broadcasting, using community media as a catalyst to promote public participation, as well as to ensuring that the communications sector is underpinned by innovation and technological invention. Chair, now in its 4th year, it is no more a debate as to the rationale for the existence of this department since the proclamation outlining its establishment. The department and its entities are tasked with communicating to South Africans and the rest of the world. This will not only ensure that we have an engaged and informed citizenry, but also yield great results on economic spin-off for the country, which will translate to the realization of the goals of the NDP. While there are anomalies in the manner in which the budget vote is structured, The consistent clean audit outcomes illustrate the department's commitment to key pillars of sustainability towards clean audits. Firstly, these include the appointment of adequately skilled administrators at all levels, but at the levels of HOD and CFO, whose task is to produce credible reports which are validated on a monthly basis. The second pillar is to the appointment of adequately experienced internal auditors and audit committees whose tasks is to review the credibility of information and objectivity, or objectively report to the leadership. Total expenditure, Honorable Chair, for the vote is expected to grow on average by 5.8% over the 2018 MTF. The department estimated a growth in expenditure of 6.4% in 2018-19. Without laboring too much on the matter, Honorable Chairperson, the Department of Communications has consistently performed well despite underfunding. It has in the last two financial years, received unqualified opinion and improved program performance. Needless to say that if it is to achieve radical socio-economic agenda over the next 20 years, as articulated in our 2014 manifesto, the rollout of massive economic and social infrastructure program will be derailed. There needs to be an open and frank discussion about the current anomaly of an underfunded of the Department of Communications. It will become more difficult for the department to deliver on its flagship program of digital migration. It was previously reported by the department that if it needs another 6.6 billion to successfully complete the implementation of the broadcasting digital migration, which is BDM, before the worldwide June 2019 deadline. Honorable Chair, there is a serious need to capacitate the department's entity oversight unit in order to ensure that there is proactive monitoring of problematic entities. Transforming the sector, particularly the print media sector, remains at the top of the department's priorities. Honorable Chair, it is now public knowledge that the manner and robustness of debates and resolutions of the Portfolio Committee on Communications is testament to the commitment and intent of the ruling party on promoting social cohesion and other principles as enshrined in the Constitution. The inquiry into the finance of the board of the SABC was a process initiated by the PCC on communication, and we have since been consistent in our oversight into the public broadcaster so that it continues to play an important part. Another important entity is MDDA, which in recent times has experienced a multitude of challenges. The PCC, just like with the other troubled entity, has begun to focus into bringing stability at the MDDA by firstly restoring stable leadership at the board, but most importantly addressing the maladministration engulfing the entity. We cannot overlook the fact that the financial constraints of the department and its entities contributes largely to the challenges of the department, and I will illustrate briefly. The print media sector remains largely untransformed, with undue concentration of media ownership in the hands of a few industry players. Transformation, however, needs to be tackled from various fronts, was policy planned, and at addressing transformation is a good start. It is not enough at how transformation is financed should also be a priority of the department to ensure that transformation becomes a sustainable program. As it stands, the MDDA is tasked with the support of community print and small commercial print projects. Again, financial constraints will compromise the sustainability of projects and transformation. SABC has the enormous mandate to educate all South Africans in all official languages.
Please conclude.
Despite a decrease in funding and a challenging commercial environment. Honorable Chair, it should be noted with concern, Minister, that numerous calls by the committee to employ or to fill the funded vacant post are very critical for the department to further perform because it is performing. This is despite the fact that the proclamation of 2014 to establish the department is now 4 years old. The ANC supports the report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Van Dam.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. This year marks the fifth and final year of this fifth Parliament. As I look back on the work of the Communications Portfolio Committee, I see great improvement. Improvement that has been as a result of a commitment to the discharging of our duties as public representatives of this august House. I can proudly say that as South Africans from across political parties, we have done our best to conduct oversight over the Department of Communications. This is not to say that we have not disagreed along the way. We have, and we have done so often. However, what has always remained was our commitment to fixing the problems in this portfolio. I unfortunately cannot say the same for the members of the executive who have been in charge. The last 3 years have been an exercise of utter frustration. Today before us, we have the 4th Minister of Communications in 2 years, the 2nd in the space of 6 months, and the 10th since 2009. The constant reshuffling of ministers, here's the problem, it means that there's perpetual policy uncertainty and lack of continuity. It is quite clear that this department is one that is not of high priority for ANC presidents. And less of a priority is South Africa's broadcasting digital migration program. Only 77 million has been allocated for its rollout this year, whereas 6.6 billion is actually what is needed. The government needs to stop lying to the public and saying digital migration is coming. It is not coming. It was quite clear, yes, lying. It is quite clear that another year will roll on by and South Africa will not migrate to digital television.
Point of order.
In the meantime, technological advancements, can I be protected, Chair?
All right. Chairperson, point of order. She's misleading the House because she's saying lying. Lying. Thank you.
Honorable members.
The government must stop fibbing to the public about digital migration.
Honorable members, please let us allow the Honorable Van Dam to be heard. Firstly, let us read our rules correctly. We are only out of order if you are talking about a direct member, not about a broader statement of government. Honorable Van Dam.
It is quite clear that another year will roll on by and South Africa will not migrate to digital television. In the meantime, technological advancements have sped by while South Africa dilly-dallies. It is clear that an in-depth review of government's broadcast digital migration program is needed and needed urgently. I would suggest that the 77 million allocated to the process be put towards assembling a panel of experts in the field to start the process afresh, taking into consideration the technological developments in the sector. I see the Minister has said this will already happen, and I look forward to seeing the outcomes of that panel of experts. It has also been a worry for some time that the department has held numerous public awareness campaigns to promote digital migration, a process it has known for some time will not happen. I was amazed to discover via reply to parliamentary question that 30.3 million has been spent on public awareness campaigns, which according to some attendees were sometimes nothing more than campaigns to promote the ANC. At each one of those public awareness campaigns, a whopping 2 million was spent on food alone. Interestingly, the amount spent by the department on travel and substances doubled in the lead up to the 2016 election when numerous of these public awareness campaigns took place.
Urfanda, there's a member on your left-hand side.
House Chair, can you
Take
please
your seat
protect
for
our
now.
member because we can't hear. I think in politics, if you can't take the heat, you are not supposed to be here.
Honorable members, please, let us not waste time. Let us not waste time. Let us allow the member to be heard, then do that thing.
Until there is some clear direction around digital migration, these awareness campaigns must be stopped and the money budgeted for them diverted towards the department's core mandate, which is to develop national communications policy. The lack of innovation and forward thinking in this department is embarrassing. To date, we have had no response from government regarding the protection of personal information online and the phenomenon of fake news which threatens our democracy. The AU, for example, has created a commission to propose measures to tackle fake news, including an EU-wide code of conduct of disinformation. This code is anticipated to include a series of aims to help tackle the spread of fake news, including ensuring transparency when displaying sponsored content, enabling third-party verification, clarifying how algorithms work, and introducing additional measures to identify and close fake accounts. The Department of Communication must look at international best practice in order to be at the front line to responding to communications, technological developments, and threats. Regulation must never lag behind technological developments. Now, regarding the entities reporting to this department, it is astounding that Ruben Mutlaluga continues to this day to chair ICASA, despite having been found guilty of defrauding the land bank of approximately 6 million. The Deputy Minister of Communications, Pinky Kagana, is on record on 27 March 2018, saying Mr. Mutlaluga would be suspended. Here we are 6 weeks later, and a convicted fraudster continues to draw a salary and chair a Chapter 9 institution. Pending the conclusion of parliamentary processes, Mr. Mutlaluga must be suspended immediately. It is unconscionable that he continues to chair a Chapter 9 institution. We are pleased that ICASA is forging ahead. Are you going to protect me?
Yeah, no, Honorable Fanda, honorable members on both sides, you are not assisting us. You are not assisting us. You are drowning your own speaker. You are not assisting us. Let us allow her to be heard. Honorable members, we'll correct surnames later. Please continue.
We are also pleased that ICASA is forging ahead with plans to open up the pay TV market to create competition and provide more choice for consumers. It cannot be that multi-choice dominates the market, closing out competitors, especially regarding sports rights. As I discovered in a parliamentary question, over the last 3 years, the SABC has paid multi-choice over $500 million for sports rights. This means that South African football fans, for example, have had to watch delayed matches on SABC TV. It cannot be that the public broadcaster has to pay a private company for the benefit of broadcasting sport matches, especially those of our national teams. The public should be able to watch Bafana Bafana, the Springboks and the Proteas and the public broadcaster without the SABC having to pay billions to the DSTV for the benefit. I am also pleased that the SABC is pursuing the issue of ICASA's must-carry regulations, which means that these channels, SABC 1, 2, and 3, are given for free to DSTV. This means that DSTV is able to gain advertising revenue from the SABC's channels and its dololo for the public broadcaster. DSTV must pay the SABC for its channels, and the SABC must use this money to purchase and commission better content, attract more viewers, and in turn, advertisers in revenue. Regarding the Films and Publications Board, we've expressed unhappiness with the FPB amendment bill, with which material issues of constitutionality and enforceability remain. We hope the NCOP will be able to iron out these issues. Otherwise, if passed, the bill is likely to be subject to litigation. Chairperson, we have also expressed our unhappiness with the manner in which the dismissal of the former CEO of the FPB, Themba Wagashe, was handled by the board. The FPB spent $350,000 on initial legal advice from Bowman Gilfillan, which told them that they did not have a case against Mr. Wagashe. Then they spent a further $500,000 on a legal opinion from Segela Xabiso, which also told them that they do not have a case. The CEO was eventually awarded a settlement of $2.1 million because the board clearly wanted him out, allegedly for reasons which may have included homophobia. The waste of public money in this manner cannot be tolerated. The board members of FPB, especially those who are in agreement in the manner in which Mr. Wagashe was treated, must be personally, individually, severally, and held liable for this fruitless and wasteful expenditure. They must pay that money back from out of their own pockets. Honorable Chairperson, these are but a few of the issues that exist not only with the department, but the entities reporting to it. I do not sense a sense of urgency or an appetite for innovation from the ANC or its minister to bring real change to this portfolio. In fact, the minister seems very, very distracted and focused perhaps on the issues in her former portfolio and not focused on this committee. In fact, she hasn't even been to that many committee meetings.
Please conclude.
It is quite clear that the only time that this portfolio will deliver to South Africa is when we have total change in 2019. A DA government would ensure that all entities are well run, those that need to be sold are sold off, that crooks are not allowed to lead boards, and that the innovation necessary in this digital era is front and center of its policy making. We wish Minister Mokanyane well for as long as she is with us. With the ANC, you never know when a reshuffle is coming.
Thank you, Honorable Fa. Honorable, Honorable Mkwena. I thought Honorable Mkwena have agreed that would be Honorable Albert. We have changed it again. Okay. Take the platform.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, the Honorable Minister, you may want to...
Honorable Smiya. No. Honorable Shengwa. No. We are really wasting our time.
Yeah, thanks.
Allow the member. You'll engage the member after he has spoken.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, you might want to look at your CIPC documents. There are people there on the list of board directors who may compromise your governance issues there. The reality of the Department of Communications is that nothing has changed since the removal of Minister Mutambi, and it's continuing with the same tendencies that all of us, including the members of the ANC, criticized during Zuma's presidency. the policies, programs, and legislation that it has championed under the new and old minister will not allow the department and its entities to provide a conducive environment for research, development, the free flow of ideas and information. This is sad, and it's sadly not the case for the new Minister Mokonyane, who left the Department of Water and Sanitation bankrupt, compromised, and not so different from Minister Mutambi. It is why findings of the Parliament inquiry that revealed MultiChoice made payments to the Gupta-owned propaganda machine ANN7, now rebranded Afro Worldwide, has been squashed. It is why the migration from digital to analog broadcasting is taking so long and has been so heavily compromised by MultiChoice's dominance and monopoly through bribes and illicit payments of ministers and their proxies. It would be counterproductive and regressive to the idea of a transformed media if digital migration would see MultiChoice maintain its monopoly, not allowing smaller, particularly black-owned and community broadcasters to be competitive in the market. The SABC, the public broadcaster, which enters the homes of millions of South Africans every day, remains unstable and is clearly heading in the wrong direction. It is making changes that will turn it into an NCA light, changes like the replacement of Sakina Kamwendo, a competent, tried and tested journalist and presenter, with Stephen Grootes, shows the lack of commitment to gender transformation and the ideals of discourse of economic freedom and black liberation. We also decry, in particular, the continued flouting of the Broadcast Act on the responsibilities of the minister versus that of the board and the executive. EFF also stands in solidarity with SABC workers in the TV license department who were suspended without proper procedure and call for the immediate reinstatement and necessary procedures to be followed. The MDDA is so dysfunctional that it has reached a point where we believe that it should be placed under administration in order to revive it. We must also mention that there were 36 recommendations made by the SABC inquiry. Not even half of them have been meted, and we feel that that is injustice to the growth of the organization. All of this, we have said, paints a true picture of the reality of the department and its entities in their entirety. And it is why we can never be expected to support the budget vote. Thank you very much.
Honorable Alberts.
Chairperson, thank you for allowing me to speak a little bit earlier. Minister, given the unfortunate state capture years we have experienced, this debate must be framed within the rhetoric of Mr. Dondo Mogajane, the Director General of Treasury, who stated yesterday as follows: we have to ensure that we take a stand. We are not a failed state, but we are on the verge of becoming a failed state, and we were party to that. This is a spectacular admission of guilt, and this department has seen its fair share of state capture. The SABC, for instance, had gone through troubling times over the years, but the Hlaudi Motsoeneng regime was unprecedented in its theft of public resources, pro-ANC propaganda, mismanagement, and witch hunting of its own employees and journalists. We are indeed glad to see the new management trying to turn the ship around, but we have yet to see accountability from all those who was part of the destruction of an important public institution. While we do hear noises being made regarding financial accountability, it is disconcerting not to hear anything about the criminal prosecution of the individuals involved in the persecution of SABC journalists, especially the SABC 8. We are certain that a case can be made that journalist Suna Venter passed away due to the stress of being hunted by SABC henchmen, and that the institution therefore has a responsibility to ensure those perpetrators are caught and tried in court for murder. Nog 'n belangrike kwessie wat aandag verg is die film en publikasie wysigingswetsontwerp se poging om die internet te reguleer onder die oënskynlike oogmerk om vrouens en kinders te beskerm. Die wysigingswetsontwerp sal uiteindelik nie implementeerbaar wees nie, juis omdat die internet 'n globale dier van aard nie deur 'n plaaslike wet alleen gereguleer kan word nie. Die ANC sal moet leer dat die skep van wetgewing alleen nie op sigself sosiale probleme kan regmaak nie. Dit vererger in baie gevalle die probleem en skep valse verwagtinge rakende die oplossing. Natuurlik is hierdie wysigingswetsontwerp boonop daarop gerig om meer regulasies te skep ter wille van sentrale beheer in lyn met die Sowjet-ethos van die ANC. Aangesien hierdie wysigingswetsontwerp nie in lyn is met die werklikheid nie, sal dit uiteindelik ook val. Given the importance of communication for the economy in a country, state capture will have to be eradicated and all obligations of the department must be complied with in a constitutional and fair manner. If not, the department will remain the farce it has become under state capture. A lot has been said about the fourth industrial revolution. It is indeed an important aspect to take note of. But the fourth industrial revolution will pass us by, and this country will only know it as a buzzword if we are not able to leverage it for growth going forward. And that means that the state departments must be free of any state capture. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable van der Merwe. Honourable Deputy Minister.
Honorable House Chair, Honorable Minister Nomvula Mkonyane, the Honorable Chairperson of the PCC, Honorable Humphrey Maklekwani, and the entire members of the committee, board and executive members of the entities of the DOC, Acting Director General of the department, Dr. Mashilo Buluka, Acting DG of GCIS, Mepumla Williams, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. The month of May has significant importance in the history of the African continent and her people as we celebrate the Africa Month. It is thus both a privilege and honor for me to deliver my maiden budget vote during Africa Month, which is being celebrated under the theme, I quote, "A year of Nelson Mandela, building a better Africa and a better world," close quote. This year's celebration coincides with the centenary of the birth of our beloved first democratically elected president, Tata Nelson Mandela, and Mama Albertina Sisulu, the icons of the liberation struggle. As we celebrate the lives and legacies of Madiba and Masisulu, a call is also made to all who live on our continent to promote African unity, ensure deeper regional integration, and to recommit to nation building and social cohesion. Honorable Chair, allow me to acknowledge my special guests, Ms. Eunice Munsiwa and Mr. Maisha Maponyane, who are both high school learners and they are seated there in the gallery. They carry with them the hopes of a brighter tomorrow of our nation. However, given such high levels of violence against women and children in our country, the hope they carry for our country is threatened. It is our clarion call to all South Africans that gender-based violence in all its forms has no place in our society and must be defeated. On our work in the Department of Communications is about laying a firm foundation for the communication sector to act as a unifying force of our people. We do this by ensuring that all citizens, irrespective of their socio-economic status in the society, have access to information. Thus, part of the mandate is to assist the process of building a united, more equitable, and socially cohesive nation. The NDP instructs us to be a nation that has more things in common than things that divide us. Honorable Chair, the Minister has entrusted me with the responsibility to oversee the work of the Film and Publication Board, FPB, and the Media Development and Diversity Agency, MDDA. These institutions play a vital role in giving true meaning to our mission of ensuring that ours is participatory democracy in which the people truly govern. This means that we are vested with the responsibility to ensure that our people have access to as diverse information and knowledge as it exists in the global community. The mandate of the FPB is derived from the Constitution of the Republic, balancing the rights of children as listed in Section 28 of the Constitution against other fundamental rights, often conflicts with its own mandate and legislation. Despite the well-intended role of regulating for the preservation of progressive values and norms, the FPB has encountered challenges largely due to policy constraints. In this regard, the Film and Publications Amendment Bill that is currently before the NCOP will help to ensure that we have a workable policy framework in place for the effective regulation of online content. For the financial year 2018-19, the FPB will focus on building capacity in technology and related skills development. This will enable it to deal with the shift by industry towards digital content distribution. To improve the ease of doing business as instructed by the NDP, the FPB successfully launched a first-of-its-kind online content regulation, OCR system, in Africa. This system allows distributors to submit content online for classification from anywhere around the globe, which will improve turnaround time and service delivery. In an attempt to respond to the changes in the industry, the FPB has licensed 5 online content distributors that will be self-regulating their content in line with the FPB's classification guidelines. The guidelines are under review, and in 2018-19, we plan to conduct provincial public consultations on the draft revised classification guidelines. We urge members of the public to participate and make inputs in this process. The recent case of the film Inxeba, The Wound, which has attracted huge public interest, exposed certain shortcomings in the current legislation. The conflict between culture, social norms and values on the one hand, and the rights to freedom of expression, artistic and commercial rights on the other, have been cast in the limelight, with the battle ending up in court. We are awaiting the outcome of the court process. Honorable Chair, as part of his contribution towards fighting crime and corruption, creating jobs and improving education, the FPB has been very active. In the last 4 years, the FPB, in partnership with law enforcement agencies, conducted 68,564 raids and compliance inspections, a total of 344,663 illegal DVDs and CDs with a street value of 3,446,030 rands and market value of 34,466,000 rands were confiscated and distracted. The FPB has also assisted the National Prosecuting Authority and the law enforcement agencies to successfully convict child pornography perpetrators. In 2018-19, the FPB will champion a program to conscientize the youth about the dangers lurking in the online space. The FPB will develop a mobile app through a national hackathon competition. The mobile app will be developed by the youth for the youth and extend the FPB's reach to one that is accessible on smart devices. The FPB will also continue to conduct public education awareness campaign targeting children, parents, and the general public. Honorable members, since 1994, the footprint of community media has grown significantly and has begun to emerge as an alternative voice to mainstream media. We must therefore ensure community media remains true to the objective of providing information to the many South Africans who ordinarily do not have access to the media. Over the years, the community radio and print media sectors play an important role of being the training ground for the next generation of media practitioners and cultural workers. However, as we have come to learn in the numerous interactions we have had with this sector, numerous challenges remain, which poses a serious threat to the continued existence of these sectors. These, among others, relate to ownership and uncompetitive behavior by various mainstream media companies, red tape in government, which impact on revenue generation and therefore sustainability of community media platforms. Therefore, the imperative of the MDDA to intensify its support for community media sector can never be overstated. A study into the impact of the MDDA was commissioned and completed in December 2017. And it concluded that the MDDA has been able to carry out different aspects of its mandate to a greater or lesser degree, and that political parties, government and stakeholder groups saw the need to build a thriving community and small commercial sector. Through its grant, the MDDA has channeled resources to the community and small commercial media sector, and in this way contributed towards the expansion of ownership and control as well as access to media to historically disadvantaged communities. This is evidenced in the burgeoning of both community and small commercial media, which is being published or broadcast in all indigenous languages. Community radio audiences reach an impressive 25% of South African audiences, and community print is read by about 25 million monthly readers. Of the 275 community broadcasting stations, the MDDA has funded just over half of that, which is 156 radio stations out of a total of 275. With regard to the print sector, the MDDA has supported some 85 titles with either startup capital or finances to strengthen pre-existing publications. Honorable Chair, the MDDA has also supported 4 TV stations. However, this media is expensive and the community TV sector is still in its infancy. I'm also extremely pleased that community radio and print now appears in a range of indigenous languages across all provinces and at local level.
Honorable Minister,
Chair.
Deputy Minister, time is up.
Chair, as I conclude, there can be no greater way.
Please conclude.
Chair?
Please conclude.
I agree, Honorable Chair. There can be no greater way of celebrating our icons, Nelson Mandela and May Albertina centenary, in the spirit of business unusual. The ANC support this budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we have Honorable, okay. Maybe what we should do, because Honorable Foreign Mervet swapped with Honorable Albert, and therefore she has to speak, but perhaps it doesn't really matter if you start. Let's have you first. Yeah.
All right. I hope you'll also tell me when to wrap up. That is after my time has finished. Chairperson and honorable members, while the challenges facing the dysfunctional, I should say, MDDA seem to be receiving attention, the challenges that continue to face the workers at SABC seems not to be receiving enough attention from the leadership. Workers at SABC still feel that the management's reign of terror at SABC continues long after the departure of its chief architect, Mr. Hlaudi Mitswaneng, and despite our efforts in the SABC ad hoc committee last year to ensure that the SABC leadership built a relationship with its employees that is based on trust and mutual respect. Despite these attempts, we still hear stories about the management at SABC taking decisions that affect workers without consulting them and us, an important stakeholder, the public. There are still stories, Minister, for instance, or cases where some of the journalists are told or ordered to include certain parties and leave others in news bulletins. For proof of the lack of consultation, one has to look no further than the recent unilateral changes made by the SABC management to the current affairs programs at SAFM. I want to put this matter in perspective. For instance, when the SABC management took this decision, it reduced the current affairs hours on SAFM from 30 hours during the week to 10 hours, and from 5 hours on weekends to 2 hours, but with the same staff complement. The implications of this ill-considered decision are that you now have at the SAFM current affairs decision, where up to 12 people working on a 1-hour show per day, they have to spend the rest of the day without work but are still paid full salaries. This means, again, SAFM right now you have approximately 30 people working on 32 hours worth of current affairs content per week. Shockingly, this inefficiency and wasteful expenditure occur at the time the cash-strapped SABC regularly goes to the National Treasury with a begging bowl for bailouts. Furthermore, we have been reliably informed of a number of cases where after having lost CCMA cases, the SABC management ignores CCMA awards. This disturbing trend seems to be taking root in government, as even in some of the entities that fall under the Department of Arts and Culture are guilty of the same thing, and it needs to be nipped in the bud. Minister, we agree with the committee's recommendation that ICASA should prioritize the issuing of regulations to parties for airtime for the 2019 elections. As failure to give this matter the agency deserves could lead to parties feeling that they could be marginalized. We should indeed ensure better coordination between MDDA and ICASA in support of local community media and marginalized communities to ensure that our people participate in our democracy as a strategy of building and enhancing social cohesion. Siyabulela.
We'll see how it goes. Honorable House Chairperson, just last week the world observed World Press Freedom Day. Of late, far too many South African journalists have come under fire for standing up for their right to speak the truth and to do their jobs without fear or favor. We commend South Africa's vibrant fourth estate, especially those from the public broadcaster who continue to do exceptional work in protecting our democracy and holding to account those who fail us. Chairperson, today Minister Mokonyane charted the way forward for this department. Before her, Minister Kubai Ngubane led the charge. Before her, Minister Dlodlo did so. And before her, it was the now notorious Minister Faith Mutambi. It goes without saying that such instability does not bode well for this department and its entities, and we ask the new minister to work swiftly to address the most urgent challenges, to fill critical vacancies, to tackle the governance crisis at the MDDA, and to ensure the employment of more people with disabilities. Honourable House Chairperson, ICASA remains a toothless regulator. It is truly unforgivable that 5 years after ICASA started its investigation into the cost to communicate, South Africa remains a country with some of the highest costs to communicate in Africa and the world. ICASA continues to act in the interests of big cell phone companies at the expense of our most vulnerable citizens. If our excessive high cost to communicate doesn't fall, then surely the leadership of ICASA must fall. But maybe nothing is happening at ICASA because Ruben Malaloga, an ANC cadre, and a convicted fraudster continues to lead ICASA, and maybe that's one of the reasons nothing is happening. We're also concerned with the ICASA state of readiness for the upcoming 2019 elections. There are always attempts by some politicians, especially those from the ruling party, to manipulate the public broadcaster for excessive free airtime. This is likely to happen again in the lead up to the 2019 elections. Regulations on airtime for political parties must therefore be urgently finalized. House Chairperson, before the bravery of the SABC 8 and the parliamentary inquiry into the SABC, the IFP called on South Africans not to pay their TV licenses. We did so because of the wholesale mismanagement and political manipulation of the public broadcaster at the behest of the ruling party. While the SABC is now moving in the right direction, it is far from healthy yet. Changes at SAFM were poorly handled. Autocratic managers still lurk in the corridors at Auckland Park. The SABC remains in financial ICU, and staff morale remains low. more focus is needed on the staff welfare at the SABC alongside the financial health of the broadcaster. The new broom, the new SABC board, although they've done exceptional work so far, is yet to sweep completely clean. Minister Mokonyane, as the ANC's main spin doctor-in-chief, putting you in charge of the SABC ahead of the make-or-break election for the ANC, where you might find yourself on this side of the House, was indeed a good move on behalf of your political superiors. But we hope in this era of the so-called new dawn, and as we move to the next election, you won't develop an appetite to turn the SABC into another state broadcaster once more. Finally, Minister Mokonyane, it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention your track record at the Department of Water and Sanitation. Under your leadership, that department was reduced to bankruptcy and is in complete chaos now. We sincerely hope that you will achieve the opposite at the Department of Communications. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Madisha. Please proceed.
Thank you greatly, Chair, and all members here present.
If I just make an appeal
Permit me.
that, Honorable Madisha, just a second. If I can just make an appeal that let's talk, if we have to, in very low tones, and avoid drowning the speakers. It's a plea, especially at the back there. There seems to be something happening. Yeah. Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Sorry, Chairperson, just to say, you know, it's very difficult having so many members of the ANC on the opposition side of the House here. So I don't know if you want to make... So I don't know if you want to make a ruling that the ANC should maybe go to the governing side of,
no, thank you very much.
Of the benches.
We note what we are saying. Let's proceed. Madisha.
Thank you. I was saying that permit me to welcome the new minister and the deputy into this department. I hope they will put the people first, and we shall be able to move forward properly. Further, let me put it to the House that the Portfolio Committee has been working in unison in a very number of ways, and on very many occasions, we have been able to agree. Thank you, Chairperson. Now, where do I start? Where do I start now?
Please proceed. Order. No, please allow Honorable Madisha to proceed with his speech. Yeah, please proceed.
Permit me again to indicate that there are momentous challenges that the people of our country face. First, the national budget presented earlier this year, and which informs this budget vote, brought home the stark and tragic consequences of a decade of betrayal. And now government must begin the process of undoing the damage done to the state, the fiscus, and the economy by, amongst other means, implementing broad austerity measures, fiscal consolidation, and cutbacks on expenditure. And this must be done in the face of rising demands upon government as a consequence of poor governance, failing service delivery, and rising unemployment, poverty, and inequality. We want to repeat this.
Instead of sunshine, we face a perfect storm with the ruling party at its center. Chairperson, the Department of Communication is a case in point. We witnessed how SABC was captured, its newsrooms and journalists intimidated, and how its resources were plundered to fund Mr. Zuma and the Gupta's propaganda in the form of ANN7 and the New Age. We witnessed how Zuma and the Guptas, using looted state funds, propagated fake news to inflame racial tensions for political ends. We have seen how the Films and Publications Board were intimidated to effectively ban the locally made film in Leba. We have observed the failing governance of MDDA and its dysfunction. We still await the rollout of DTT, which appears to be the subject of contestation between elites. And South Africans still suffer from high data costs in the age of the fourth industrial revolution, despite ICASA. Now please tell me, are we getting bang for our bucks? Is our spend on communication creating an environment for the provision of inclusive communication services to all South Africans? Is our spending promoting socio-economic development and investment in the communications industry? Chairperson, COPE notes that due to bad governance, reckless fiscal management, and rampant corruption, the budget of the department now faces significant reductions over the medium term. That is why you actually are faced with momentous challenges. The amounts have been reduced, and you therefore cannot move properly.
The time is
to
up.
You, my chairperson and the committee, I am saying that we need to go to the board of SABC because there are problems there. Not only there, but then in other areas, so that we then can be able to remove the problems which are there. There are very serious problems. And the people of our country, the working class in particular, is going on. They are not satisfied.
Time is up.
Let us look into that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll now proceed to Honorable Machoba.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Minister, Honorable...
Please speak a bit loud and speak to the mic. Sondela mic, yeah. Okay.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, the DGs, to all the departments, our people in the Garal. Before, my area focus will be on two entities, MDDA and FPB. I want to say before, xa ndizakothula inkulumo yam namhlanje, ndithula inkulumo yam ndihlonipha abantu baseGugulethu ababhiyozela i-60 years kulo nyaka ka-2018 abaremovwa kumhlaba wase-Kensington nakumhlaba we-District 6 basiwa eGugulethu apho babhiyozela into engekhoyo kuba isicelo sabo siyinto njengenamsebenzi minister
bathi kulonyaka ka2018 bacela nje radio station khona ukuze bathi xa bemgqiba u2018 bebhiyozela i60 years bathi nathi ikhona into ekhe sayifumana kulo rhulumente na njengoko ke sisazi uba ke eminye yemisebenzi werhulumente wengcinezelo ukuthi abamuve kwindawo ababehlala kuzo. I want to tell you how these entities doing well. These two entities, they are doing well. They are doing well. The Film and Publication Board is mandated to provide regulatory advice to enable citizens to make informed choices with regards to viewing, reading, and gaming, both for themselves and for children in their care, as well as to protect children from exposure to disturbing and harmful materials and from premature exposure to adult experience. The Media Diversity and Development Agency, MDDA, is tasked to develop a robust and sustainable community media sector. MDDA is expected to promote media diversity in a rapidly changing telecommunication environment. Its core activities will continue to be financial and non-financial support of community broadcast and community and small commercial print project. The Film and Publication Board has for numbers of years been receiving clean audit, and we take this opportunity to congratulate FPB in the effort to create functional and clean state agencies. In the spirit of taking service to the people, the FPB has concluded a pilot project to decentralize the administration function of the classification of content in Durban Region Office. The pilot project was initiated to respond to the distributors' needs, which included access to FPB offices for submission of content for classification, and also to submit application for registration and renewals. The project has assisted small medium distributors of the niche content, Nollywood and Bollywood in KZN region. This is a demonstration of agencies attempting to bring service closer to the community they serve. The ANC applauds the FPB in its clampdown on piracy, which left unchecked will destroy our film and music industry. They combine with the protection of local content, which the NDP identify as critical to grow the economic and create jobs, is a demonstration of excellent work from the Department of Communication and FPB. The FPB must be applauded for protecting and promoting the local economy through promotion of local film industry. The FPB is helping with transformation in the ICT sector and help local content creators to thrive. The South African film and television industry has been identified in the National Development Plan Mzansi Golden Economy as a driver for social cohesion, nation building, and poverty alleviation, which is the outcome 14 led by Department of Arts and Culture, to which the Department of Communication and its entities make contribution on empowering SMMEs to ensure they participate in the economy. The FPB has on average awarded 70% of business to companies with the BBBEE contribution level of 3 and lower. The FPB is also contributing to the fight against crime and corruption in the last 4 years. The FPB, in conjunction with the law enforcement agencies, conducted 68,564 raids and compliance inspection, a total of 344,663 illegally DVDs and CDs were confiscated and distracted with a street value of 3,446,003 rands and market value 34,160,300. The 54th
Chair.
ANC national elective.
Chair.
Yes, what are rising on?
No, the issue is that you are not good with numbers. So when you say come again, we are honest. Come again.
Please don't do that.
The 54th ANC National
No,
Elective Conference called on government and
Sorry,
business.
Ms. Honorable Machoba, just a second. Please don't do that. It's just a wrong culture. It introduces all sorts of negativities in the way we run and our matters and debate issues. Please don't do that. Please proceed.
Thanks, Chair. I think, Chair, there's a huge confusion on my left side. The 54th ANC National Elective Conference called on government and business to ensure that South Africa is ready for the fourth industrial revolution. The finalization of the tariff structures, once clarification guidelines are in place, will be important. The cost should be such that it allows SMEs to keep up with ITC advancement. The local industrials and especially SMEs must be protected and be favored in a comparison to multinational business. The creative of the employment of the critical and priority of the ANC President Ramaphosa has assured South Africans that the ANC government will do all it can to create employment for the youth. The Media Diverted and Development Agency, MDDA, is aimed to improving community
2 minutes
media,
left.
creating jobs and providing a platform to graduates, both local and provincial government, to support local media by using it for advertising. The objective of the MDDA is to ensure that all citizens can access information in a language of their choice and transform media access, ownership, and control patterns in South Africa. This is done in order to redress and exclusion and marginalization of disadvantaged communities and persons from access to the media and the media industry to promote media development and diversity by providing support primary to community and small commercial media projects. The ANC believes that media has a critical role to play in aiding good governance, transparency, and accountability, which hence a pluralistic and free media sector. I did. The ANC believes that the media aiding good governance, transparency, and accountability, which hence a pluralistic and free media sector, is needed to ensure that all voices in society are heard. The 54th elective conference of the ANC concluded that the potential of the creative industries as a social transformation sector that provides jobs, drive economic growth, innovation, and allows many young people to make a living from their talent. The media...
Time is expired.
The ANC supports the budget. The ANC support the budget.
Thank you very much. We will now proceed to Honorable S.N. Swart.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, the ACDP, like speakers before, is particularly interested in stability at the SABC, given the very important role the public broadcaster plays in providing information, entertainment, news for viewers and listeners across the whole of South Africa. And it is for this reason that we participated in the ad hoc committee on the SABC. And those of us who remember, we found conclusive evidence that the SABC's primary mandate as a national broadcaster had been severely compromised by a lapse of governance and management, which ultimately contributed to the board's inability to discharge its fiduciary responsibilities. And we'll remember, after a lot of pressure, eventually the whole board resigned. And so we welcomed the appointment of the interim and permanent boards and have followed with interest the progress that is made in implementing the ad hoc committee's recommendations. From our side, we strongly suggested that the SIU should investigate those ongoing contracts, and so we are pleased that recently an updated report was given by the SIU into its investigations into, amongst others, the Lorna Vision 62 million rand contract and the multi-choice 460 million rand contract. However, we are concerned that the SIU is not investigating the Gupta-related ANN7 contract. Now, the reason given is that the public protector had indicated that she would be investigating this issue as part 2 of its state capture investigation. It appears, however, that part 2 has not yet commenced and may be severely constrained and compromised due to capacity constraints at the PP's office. But we do, however, trust that the Zonda Commission will also investigate the ANN7 contracts. This is very important, because as the evidence before the ad hoc committee was that the SABC came very close to being completely taken over and captured by the New Age media group. We are also concerned that the MPA apparently is reluctant to take the SIU's referral cases for criminal prosecutions. Now, we share the view that the committee members expressed that individuals who looted public institutions should not be allowed to resign or be dismissed without further action being taken. In addition, the ACDP recommends that those board members who recklessly breach their fiduciary duties be declared delinquent directors in terms of Section 162 of the Companies Act. This will act as a deterrent and prevent such former directors from moving from one SOE to the next and causing further damage. It is also important that the committee ensures, as part of its oversight, that all the recommendations of the ad hoc committee are fully implemented. One aspect relates to the urgent refunding of the SABC, the funding model, particularly given the financial constraints facing the SABC, which are aggravated, we understand, by a possible 1.2 billion rand fine by the Competition Commission Tribunal, and this obviously needs urgent attention. And so whilst we welcome the steps that have been taken to stabilize the SABC, we are concerned that there appear to be what was then raised as an environment that has fear and intimidation. And we understand that that is ongoing, and today I even heard that there are enforcers, you remember Mr. Sladi Motsoneng's enforcers, that are still around. We are concerned about that, and that needs urgent attention. We would urge any staff member to report that to the police, to board members, and if that doesn't help, come to us as Parliament. Let us not forget that a heavy price was paid in eradicating the rot at the SABC. One of the SABC 8 journalists, Suna Venter, died in June last year as a direct result of the stress induced by continued intimidation, victimization, and death threats. We cannot fail her and other journalists who have taken a stand to ensure an independent and professional public broadcaster. I thank you. My time is up. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is N. Kaba.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Chair, Home Minister wa rona Motlatsi Minister, batho ba bo rona ba South Africa, ba teng kwano public and honorable members la moile kwano. Puo ya ka tlo itshetleya ho ikhasa le brand South Africa. post-apartheid South Africa has witnessed tremendous growth in the telecommunications sector with an outstanding infrastructure, particularly in the mobile phone industry. South Africa boasts 100% mobile penetration rate with a network that 99% digital and includes latest fixed line, wireless and satellite communications, making it the most developed communications networks in Africa. ANC government removed policies that hindered the development of cross-sector applications, services and business to enable sector-reflected integration of telecommunications with information technology. Broadcasting and signal distribution. The ANC government has ensured access to information and knowledge for South Africa. The 54th ANC National Conference resolved that there's a need to strengthen organs of state, including ICASA, to cope with the unprecedented changes due to fourth industrial revolution. The ANC further resolved that the local content industry development strategy should be introduced without delay, alongside the review of broadcasting policy in line with digital broadcasting plan. The ANC government is supporting emerging market players and adoption of relatively progressive policies. The Media Diversity and Development Amendment Bill, in line with ANC resolutions, will improve the sustainability of community and small commercial media sector in South Africa. The department has successfully submitted the white paper on audiovisual and digital content policy for South Africa to Cabinet for the approval towards the development of draft audiovisual and digital content bill over the medium term. The policy will provide enabling mechanism to facilitate ownership of audiovisual content, value chain previously disadvantaged communities and SMMEs. Following the approval of Audiovisual Digital Content Act, the department will commence with the ICASA Amendment Bill during 2020-21. The ICASA Amendment Bill seeks to align the role of ICASA to respond to the digital environment, ensuring, for example, online services are adequately regulated. Like Honorable Van der Merwe was saying, there is no need for ICASA to exist. We wish to confirm that the ICASA existence is relevant and it is in line with Section 192 of the Constitution of South Africa. The ICASA also aims to increase competition in the telecommunications center by reviewing the number of probability regulations above over the medium term, which allows cell phone number putting for all telecommunications service users.
Honorable Kaba, Van der Merwe.
No, Chairperson, I want to respect the members' maiden speech, but he must
What
not
are you
mislead the
raising
House
on?
by saying, I said chapter ICASA shouldn't exist. I said I
Why are you standing up?
questioned its work in terms of the communication. I didn't say it
no,
mustn't exist. That's misleading the House.
Maybe we should at this point just clarify that members in terms of Rule 66 are not supposed to interrupt and disturb members whilst they are speaking, unless one rises on a point of order or on approval from the presiding officer, on the discretion of the presiding officer on a specific matter. So please don't stand up to disrupt a speaker. Please, please, members, let's keep to the rules. Thanks. Kaba, please proceed.
Thanks, Chair. This is funded under the Policy Research and Analysis Program, which has an allocation of 53.5 million over the medium term. ICASA also aims to increase the range of mobile network coverage by 15% and extend network measures to include data and not just voice calls. This will contribute to improving quality of communications in South Africa and facilitate effective competition in the ICT sector by the end of 2019-2020. This increased competition should assist in bringing prices down, making more affordable for the consumers as well as new entrants to service provision. ANC government cares and is listening and is partnering, also fixing and doing things better. ANC adhered that the data is expensive and is doing something about that. ICASA also plans to license additional radio broadcaster in Northern Cape 2017 and 2018. And it establishes offices in Northwest and Northern Cape to expand national footprint and increase competition in commercial broadcasting sector at a cost of 801.2 million over the medium term. This will reduce costs for consumers and open job opportunities for youth and will end unemployment and reduce crimes as prioritized by the President Ramaphosa during SONA. This we propose, Minister, that we do it working with our local communities in Northwest and Northern Cape. We consult with them, we inform with them, we give report with them, and we do feedbacks on the processes so that we take the processes in line with our communities. Added to this, Chair, it's the ICASA reading itself for 2019 elections. But as the Minister has said, now we are doing it hopefully in an advanced, better standard performance than other elections that we may have had. ICASA would be performing that way. Improved coordination with MDDA and ICASA in support of community media and radio. It is important. Also, ensuring that the waves people can listen better. Our commitment is that the regulation of broadcasting inside and outside the country is a serious matter, and government is attending to it. In branding South Africa, in fulfilling branding South Africa mandate of the positive positioning South Africa as a competitive business destination in what investment. Brand South Africa, in partnership with the Department of Mineral Resources, planned and hosted a number of engagements at the 2017 mining Indaba. This included a media briefing and investment seminar and a business-to-business networking session with a view of linking South African companies seeking investment with potential investors. The forum, Branding South Africa, also worked with key government departments locally and abroad to position the country as a competitive destination in what investment to promote national development plan and active citizenship. Important partnership included Branding South Africa, collaboration with Department of Home Affairs to position South Africa to naturalize citizen. The DTI, and proudly South African, is holding 4th installment South African Premier Business Awards. Chair, I must also mention that during the debate on May 8th, the President referred to the importance of us having to brand South Africa. He even cited an example with regard to the cap that he wore at the COSATU rally. It is important of us to brand our country abroad. And so, Chair, with that, the ANC support the vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Sheikh, Honorable Sheikh.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair.
I thought the ANC had all their speakers already.
The National Freedom Party supports the report tabled here today. I don't know why you're saying what you're saying, because in your party, and that's where the minister must intervene, because you've got gagging orders against your leader. He can't say anything anymore. He can't utter the word. He can't utter the word black. He's got a problem. He's got to say white, white, white. Otherwise, he's got a problem. Number two, they've also gagged all their councillors in the city of Cape Town not to say a single word. They've tried to gag Patricia de Lille. They're getting their own medicine every day. They're ending up in court. Honorable Chairperson, one of the key functions of the department is to provide information, dissemination, and publicity to promote and inform citizens.
Honorable Sheikh, a minute.
Chair, I would just like to ask the Honorable Sheikh Imam how long this job application is going to be. He's been begging for a job in the ANC for so long. They must give him a job. He's been begging and begging and begging. It's very, very sore, man. They must give him a job.
Please give him a job.
Honorable members, can I appeal for order? I couldn't even hear what was being said. Yeah. Why are you rising, member? Before you explain, but why are you rising?
I would like to ask the member a question. Why he keeps applying for a job in the ANC? And for the ANC to take pity on him and hire him. It is so sad to see him sitting after sitting, begging for a job.
Honorable Chairperson, on a point of order.
Members, let us please not rise to raise a point of debate. Let's stick to the process and the procedure. We'll now allow Honorable Sheikh to proceed with his
Thank
speech.
you, Honorable. Thank you,
Please
Honorable
proceed.
Point of order, Chair.
It's only a matter
Chairperson.
of time when she'll be gagged as well. Like Lindiwe Mazibuko was gagged, Musi Maimane has been gagged, City of Cape Town being gagged.
Point of order,
It's a matter of time when she'll be gagged.
Order. Sheikh, just a minute. Can I please
point of
make
order, Chairperson.
an appeal? We're not very far from finishing off this session. But can I make an appeal to all members?
Chairperson.
To maintain the level of debate, firstly, at where it should be, that to avoid interjections, and to do nothing that undermines the quality of the debate. Can I please make an appeal? Please sit down. Please sit.
I have
it's a plea. Please.
Chairperson.
I have a point of order.
A point of order. Okay, let's hear what the point of order
Chair,
is.
the Honourable Member Iman, I understand he's very emotional, but when he refers to an Honourable Member of the...
What is the point of order?
When he refers to an Honourable...
What is the point of order?
I'm coming to a Chairperson, if I can be given an opportunity under Rule 65, but Chairperson, when the Honourable Sheikh Imam refers to the Honourable Van Dam as she, can he please refer to her by her name or as that Honourable Member? Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chairperson.
Point of order, Chairperson.
Yes, Prof.
Yeah.
What are you rising on?
Firstly, Chairperson, he is not Sheikh, he's Honourable Sheikh Imam. And then secondly,
yes.
I observed from the very onset that the Speaker was drowned even before he started his debate.
Yes.
And it's unheard of, Speaker. Really. The rules of this House provide that the Speaker not be drowned. He must be allowed an opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson.
I'm sure members have heard all of that. Can you now please proceed?
No,
Thank you, Honourable
Chairperson,
House
on a
Chair.
point of order. Chairperson,
I'm
I
glad
rise
the
in
minister
terms
is
of
here.
Rule
Minister,
85,
one of the problems
please.
that we've established,
Chairperson.
and very
Yeah.
important is this.
I'm rising
Hold
in
on
terms
a
of Rule
minute,
85.
Why
Honourable
is the
Sheikh.
responsibility of
Honourable
your
Sheikh,
department?
just a minute.
I'm rising on a point
Is
of
that the
order.
point of order?
Yes, Chairperson.
Let's hear the
85.
point of order.
Our rule book talks about relevance, and I want to find out how is that speech that is delivering relevant to the communications debate. If you want to work within the rules, you must rule him out of order.
Honourable Chairperson.
Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chair.
And I
On a
also...
point of order.
Yeah, let's hear the point of order.
Honourable Chairperson, the honourable members are disturbing that honourable member on the podium. They have been given an opportunity to debate. So that is a point of debate. Let's allow the honourable members to debate.
Yeah.
Please, don't jump up and down like popcorns in a pot.
Thank you very much. Can I please at this point ask the whips of political parties and all the relevant people who are supposed to assist to try and ensure that there's order in the House. I'm making an appeal.
Honourable Chair.
Let's start with Tandy first.
Honourable Chair.
Tandy.
Rule
She was the first to rise.
Rule 69 does not allow a disorderly conduct by members. Members of the DA are contravening Rule 69. Can we please rule and not, especially Ufandam, let us not allow the DA to contravene the rules, especially Rule 69. So I suggest that the point of orders that have been taken by the DA should not be taken into consideration to allow the member to continue, I think.
Yeah. Let's just make an observation that this thing is happening across political parties. And that we're at a point now where we really do need order so that we can proceed. I'm appealing to all of us to please cooperate and just ensure that the members given the opportunity to address the House. Honorable Sheikh, please proceed.
Chair, on a point
you,
of
Honorable
order.
House Chair.
Chair, you had noted me.
No,
You had
no.
noted me.
No, I said I was going to start with
Then I'm on a point of order, and I'm allowed
yeah,
to raise an order.
what's the point of order?
Chairperson, I'm rising on the point of order that when a point of order has been raised, you must make a ruling on it. Now, Honorable Van der Merwe raised on a point of order, and you did not make a ruling. Because, Chairperson, if you set into motion that precedent, you might as well not raise points of order if you're going to ignore us. As you are appealing to us to observe the rules, rule yourselves and conduct yourselves within the parameters of the rules.
No.
Make a ruling on the point of order raised.
No, Honorable Sengwa.
She raised the question of relevance. You must make a ruling.
Yes. Honorable Sengwa, no, you are not assisting us at all. The situation that we have had in the past few minutes is really that of members rising to raise points of debate and raising issues that attempt to contradict what the member is saying. May I please appeal to all of you to please allow Honorable Sheikh to continue with his speech.
Sheikh Imam.
Could you please do that? Thanks. Let's proceed.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Minister was addressing the issue of the responsibilities of the department, and one of it is in terms of disseminating information to the public. And one thing the department is not doing is getting a message across to the masses in South Africa in terms of what South Africa is and government is doing for the people in this country. And what we hear with the media, who's in collusion with some of my colleagues on the left, what they do is this: they only report negatively in the media. You never hear them talking about the positive things that we are achieving in South Africa. And I'm hoping, Minister, that this is one of the issues that you're going to address. The other issue is, Minister, which we've discussed before, and that is the issue of the parliamentary channel, which most South Africans cannot afford to be on DSTV, and we need an assurance that you're going to take it away from there and put it onto an SABC channel so it's accessible to all our people, especially the poorest of the poor. My colleagues here can afford DSTV, so it's fine for them, but let's go to SABC. And, now, the other challenge we have, Honorable Chairperson, Minister, is the issue of the Facebook. It has very, very serious consequences of what we've identified and welcome. And I think this matter cannot be left unattended. We need to deal with this matter and deal with the matter appropriately. And this is where exactly my colleagues come in. Because what generally happens is this: they intervene, they intercept, and that is why they get all the information that they're able to get. They don't know what I'm talking about because they are corrupt. Anyway, Honorable Chairperson, Minister, what we need is for SABC to be run like a business. With the revenue that you generate, you must be able to be self-sustainable. Instead of us having government to bail out SABC and the department, let's run it like a business, not on the principle we must sell all these things, sell these entities and privatize it. We don't need to do that. If privately you can make money, so be it, you can be at government. It's not the intention of to make money, but just to be sustainable if we can actually do them. So that's the other thing that we welcome the recommendations tabled by the department. But what we are saying is, unless
time has expired,
implement
Honorable
and deal
Sheikh.
with them, it will be a problem. The National Freedom Party supports the report tabled here today.
The next speaker is Honorable Van Dijk. Van Dijk. Other members, please proceed.
Honorable Chair, members of this House, the ANC should take full responsibility for events in Northwest, wherever, and every other violent protest in South Africa. We are seen as a nation rampaged by a staggering crime rate, corruption and lawlessness, daily stories of domestic violence and abuse, hideous violent farm murders, unemployment, and a failing education and health system. Our Rainbow Nation's image has never been in such serious trouble. While the country is burning, our president traveled abroad to raise more money to put in the coffers of a government that thrives on corruption, bribery, and looting. An estimated 200 billion was allegedly siphoned from our country during Jacob Zuma's wasted decade. The Communications Department, and especially the SABC, has formed a part of this looting. South Africa is slowly being written off as a failed state. The ANC government is responsible for our country's brand dying. As a country, we are in trouble. The kind of trouble that anti-poor VAT increase and continued petrol hikes will not fix, nor amending our constitution to allow for land expropriation without compensation. Brand SA has its hands full trying to fix this country's tarnished brand and is also failing, its CEO suspended. Brand SA chooses to spend a massive amount of taxpayers' money on offices abroad, offices in the same country or countries as our SA tourism offices. I challenge ANC to accept the DA's proposal that office space be shared with the SA tourism hubs to help cut the costs. Focus on South Africans locally, those who cannot afford or have the resources, and rather help build cohesion locally. Fixing the country's image abroad, let's fix South Africa first, the rest will follow. Die Film- en Publikasieraad en Brand SA is die enigste media-entiteite waar raadslede deur die minister aangestel word. Die DA stel voor dat die funksie na die parlement terugverwys word ten einde moontlike korrupsie teen te werk. Ook dat 'n tydraam aan die Film- en Publikasieraadsvoorsitter se termyn gekoppel word. Die MDDA, wat reeds in 2003 onder ANC bewind geskep is, het 15 jaar later steeds geen werkbare befondsingsmodel nie. Slegs 2 posisies is sedert 2014 gevul, toe ek gefokus het op die negatiewe impak van vakante posisies op veral die senior vlak van media-entiteite. 9 senior posvlak posisies is steeds vakant. Die resultaat hiervan is dat MDDA slegs 33% van sy uitkomste bereik het vir die 2016-17 finansiële jaar. Vrugtelose en onreëlmatige uitgawes het gegroei tot amper 7 miljoen en tog is daar steeds bonusse betaal. The former chairperson of the MDDA board was caught out by the DA also acting as CEO and paying herself an astronomical amount for attending 72 meetings while only 8 board meetings are scheduled per year. Further, she knowingly allowed tender corruption under her watch. Cadre deployment is in the ANC power. One thing the ANC is really good at is empty promises. The difference here is that the DA delivers. It is time to stop acting and take charge of our media entities. Stop the empty promises. Let us fix this country. Change our government. Let us vote DA. Baie dankie.
Next speaker is Kalako. Honorable Kalako.
Honorable Chairperson, Minister and Deputy Ministers, honorable members, members of the public and stakeholders. This year marks the centenary of 2 of our icons of the National Democratic Revolution, giants of African Revolution, comrades Tata Rolihlahla Mandela and Umama Albertina Sisulu. We owe our political freedom to their courage, bravery, and commitment, their sacrifice and selflessness without expecting rewards after attainment of political freedom. We salute them. We always endeavor to follow their example. Chairperson, ANC in its 2014 manifesto, I quote, said, "We will invest in a comprehensive plan to expand broadband access throughout the country and substantially reduce the cost of communication. We aim to connect all schools, public health, and other government facilities through broadband by 2020, and at least 90% of our communities should have substantial and superfast broadband capacity by 2020. Government will support and develop free Wi-Fi areas in cities, towns, and rural areas, close quote. To realize the above, universal access through infrastructure rollout for DTT was achieved with government spending through SENDEC to a tune of more than 2.5 billion rands, excluding the cost for illumination, which currently is operational. Government should consider exploiting unsubsidized market through a commercial model of unlocking opportunities. The Department of Communication must quickly deal with challenges that are obstacles for digital migration. Among them is policy uncertainty. We recognize the changing landscape of ICT sector as a result of fast developments in technology. In addition, in this regard, commend the Department of Communication for its intervention through developing and consulting on the audiovisual and digital content strategy. This is necessary because the emergence of many players in the sector, which is encouraged as it brings competition. The worrying factor, Minister, is unfair competition that is enjoyed by global players because of the absence of policy and legislation. ICT role players have failed to implement key empowerment targets to address inequality and the imbalances of the past. The sector is monopolistic and has experienced limited growth and development. Due to its monopolistic structure and high pricing model is exposing consumers to poor quality of service. It is in this regard that the ANC supports the public call that the reduction of data costs through regulatory interventions to ensure the public in general and government benefits. The Department of Communications and related departments must monitor implementation of the National Broadband Strategy, which promotes SME sector participation and take into account the minimum 30% set-aside policy on procurement, as per the regulation issued by the National Treasury to support the growth and development of SMEs, localization, creation of jobs as part of inclusive growth and preparing the country towards the fourth industrial revolution. We as ANC encourage establishment of the fourth industrial revolution commission in order to develop strategies to respond to the technological advancements which may have negative consequences on workers in general. Its role should be preparing the country in terms of skilling, reskilling, innovation, research development, and digitization, including SMEs readiness. It should also look into investment readiness, leveraging on new opportunities provided by new way of doing things. As ANC, we commend the DOC for obtaining unqualified audit without findings over 3 years. And its guidance to its entities, in particular GCIS and Brand South Africa. We know that ICASA, MDDA, and FPB have not improved over this period, and we urge the department to pay its attention to these entities, especially MDDA and FPB, who are bedeviled by governance and management challenges over some time now. The Department of Communications must pay special attention to SABC, must tackle challenges of governance and management in this entity. In the same period, over 3 years, SABC have performed badly, where it have been getting adverse audit outcomes without findings. We have seen improvements after the board was dissolved. The appointment of the interim board began the process of dealing with the leadership problems of the SABC at the level of executives. We can say with confidence that despite some persistent problems, the recently appointed board, which took over from interim board, have begun addressing many shortcomings in the SABC. The oversight unit of the DOC should pay special attention to its entities in order to make sure that they address areas that have been raised and highlighted by the Auditor General. These areas are usefulness of annual performance information and reliability of performance of information. Chair, I want just to correct two misrepresentation. On the issue of migration, the minister in this
2 minutes left.
In this parliament have told us in the committee that it is not possible to reach the deadline in 2019 due to various factors. We were all in that committee, and these are all the factors we all know. We discussed with this department. More again, Chair, on the issue of Umhlaluka, the same committee started the process, took the decision for Umhlaluka to be removed, only to be stopped by the letter from the speaker, which was from the lawyers of Umhlaluka. So this is not, even the minister is binded by that same letter when it comes to suspension. The minister, in fact, did agree with us, including Pumzile was in that meeting, that on the suspension of Umhlaluka, Honorable Pumzile, so that is the matter which all us
Honorable
address
Kalako, just a minute. There's a point of order.
Thank
What's
you.
the point of order?
Thank you, House Chair. Once again, if the honourable member could refer to the honourable
Sorry,
member
sorry,
in respect of-
Honorable
Thank you.
Pumzile, Honorable Pumzile. Chair, this issue we know is still sitting with the lawyers. Of course, like any South African citizen, Ruben Mhlaluka have rights also in this country. That is what actually we have stopped us, and that's why the issue was removed from the order paper in Parliament. You were there. You kept quiet. You are grandstanding. To move, Honorable Chair.
Please
Honorable
proceed.
Chair, on the SABC workers, the SABC workers issue was addressed just last Friday by this committee. We called all the unions, including Mwasa. We have a process with them, and the chair of the committee have even taken the issue
Thank you very
to the
much.
chair of the board. The
Time
issue
is
is
up.
getting attention from this parliament. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The last speaker is the Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Let me acknowledge here Reverend Ramila from Port Gietersrus, the Lutheran Church, who is here with us, Wamogelesegile Muruti, as well as the representatives of Deaf South Africa, who have also forged partnership with us in dealing with child protection, as well as cyberbullying. Chairperson, let me welcome the comments and the recommendations that have been presented through yourself and the report also, including some of the positive contributions made by honorable members of the House. Amongst others, it's about the issues of dealing with the untransformed print media. Only yesterday we had an engagement with the independent newspapers, and we all agree that we would be interacting and moving forward, because it is only through partnership that we can really move forward. Secondly, around the issues of the oversight capacity of the department, that is exactly one of the things that we have reflected even in our own budget statement, as well as in collaboration with the Minister Kwele, and ensuring that we support one another. I'm still going to respond on the other issues, but welcome what Honorable Nkwankwa has raised from the UDM. We must start immediately, and already we have discussed with ICASA and Minister Kwele on dealing with the regulations for the coming elections. We will be interacting with the IEC, as well as the other role players in dealing with voter education, voter registration, but also going to the multi-party committee of the IEC. This is work that we have put together. The issues that have been raised by the IFP on critical posts and the situation of the MDDA, the Deputy Minister has already spoken to that. We are actually concerned about the piano capacity of the board of the MDDA. There must be synergy in terms of the term of office within the MDDA. And we have also put a roadmap towards filling the vacancy of the CEO of the MDDA. I do appreciate also that the IFP has come out to say they are the ones who incited South Africans to boycott the licenses. You must take responsibility, therefore, to go out again and tell South Africans that in this era of democracy, boycotting the services that you are receiving is irresponsible. So they must pay for that. Honorable Madisha, I have heard what you are saying and will continue to interact with yourselves, and thanks also for some of the contributions that you have raised. The SABC board and issues of management, we all assist with them, and thanks also to the portfolio committee that this past Friday, they had a good engagement together with the trade unions that are there at SABC. The unilateral
2 minutes left.
Nkwankwa that you have Nkwankwa man. Benginivusa. Honorable Nkwankwa that you have raised around matters related to unilateral decisions. These were decisions that were taken prior, but we have since agreed with the management of the SABC to look at the listenership as well as protecting the issues of transformation with the replacements that must be pursued going forward. On the issues that have been, there's something that I want to raise that has been, that I think we need to deal with. You see, we can't be dealing with individuals and organizations, including persons, who has renounced the use of reason and always wish that we must administer medicine to them when they are actually dead. There are no solutions coming from the DA. There's no commitment coming from the DA. We all have been talking about investing in community radio, Radio Eden. All radio stations here in the Western Cape have never been supported by your party. To date, Deputy Minister is working together with them, but of importance again is that if there is a disease that is infesting yourselves, it's a disease of protecting white supremacy. And it is a disease that wanted to undermine the role of the state, and therefore, we shall not agree with you on the issues that you are raising. And as for me, bring it on. Revolutionaries never die, but revolutionary spirit always prevails even against difficult conditions. Honorable Mukwena, that's why we must change the content of SABC, because just like you, the old content that is there at SABC is not empowering our people, just as your contribution here. So you are part of those aged kind of information that is not adding any value.
Time
this
has
is not
expired,
a comedy.
Minister.
And finally, honorable members, we are not perfect, but we know where we want to take South Africa to. The remaining 12 years towards the realization of Vision 2030 shall be executed with partnership with our people, the
Thank you very much.
SABC and all our entities. Thank you, Nyabong.
Please settle down. Please settle down. That, members, concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary session. We may now rise. Thank you very much. Okay. No, thank you.